Hello, this is J.N.S with Nakhti University, and we are covering a pretty cool topic today regarding, Gen Zs and Gen Alpha and Millennials outlook and on the different changes that's going on in society in terms of self-sufficiency versus, different governance structures, big government, and whatnot. But really, we're going to take it in a very intentional level where it's like, how do we get creative around our self-sufficiency? And so for Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, a lot of them live in the apartment complexes. A lot of them they like the city. And so, obviously when we talk about self-sufficiency, people think of their own farms and land and growing their own food and whatnot. And that may be, something very appealing to some people, but we have to realize that that's not actually appealing to, and this is what I just found out, that that's not actually appealing to a lot of, the younger generation in terms of like, oh, let's grow our own food. Let's get some chickens. Let's start a homestead. Let's live off grid. They may not be aware of what's going on or what's coming. How we can see things a little bit ahead. Like some people saw what's happening 30 years ago and jumped ship or prepared. So, what I would encourage, this is a video of encouragement for one, but also creative thinking, like thinking outside the box when we come to merging the two, instead of looking at this as in a dichotomy, instead of thinking it as either or. Either I'm going to be a city dweller and just I like the city life, or you're going to be one of the preppers that like to go go out on their farm and land and get some chickens and get the eggs and go and have, the big old land farm. So what we want to do is bridge the two. Okay. And so that's what this is going to be about. I do want to give a disclaimer that you're going to hear a lot of stuff in the background because I got to start my day and get my walk in and then also tidy up. I like to tidy up. And so my place. So you're going to hear stuff in the background and sprays and and probably hear me sweeping, so don't mind that. But when it comes to like people who are already in them cities, you got to figure it's a lot of people in them cities. It's a lot of people in them apartment complexes. What about, this is an idea that I want to throw out to Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, and Millennials, and for those who like city living, there's motherfuckers that want to go to the concert still and all this stuff. They in the Matrix. And so what I would say is it's not either or. What about turning them apartment complexes, especially the hallways, the sides of the halls of an apartment complex? What about turning those into hydroponic farms, hydroponic gardens where you can do fruits and veggies right across? Either, obviously, if this is not something y'all could do in the hallways, you can even do it in your own individual apartment. Say with hydroponic machines, either the Grow L, the Let's Grow one. I think it's called Let's Grow. Those hydroponic machines are small enough to fit on the table. That means if you don't want to get your butt out there and get on that farm and be all in that dirt, you could sit at your table with your laptop, whatever gadgets you got, play your music or whatever, and sit right at your kitchen table or dining table, whatever, with your hydroponic machine and still do technically farming. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. For those who like to play cards, for those who like to have aunties and uncles come over or the house or the apartment, Auntie Bertha, Auntie whoever, while they frying that fish, you can sit your ass right at that table, even while y'all playing cards, and play with that little hydroponic machine and grow you some tomatoes, grow you some lettuce, grow you some kale, grow you parsley, rosemary, all types of herbs right in your apartment. Say if you work from home and you on call, like there's different types of work people do. So they might have to wait on call or whatever, but they at their table, this stuff could be done right then and there. That hydroponic farm is small garden tool. Some of them are small enough to fit on a desk or in a table, and you can definitely grow lettuce and kale out of them. And the lights go up to 30 feet so they can grow, not 30 feet, 30 inches, 30 inches, so they can grow high up. You know what I mean? as far as that lettuce, and you can have that harvest like that. So so if you in the city and good and well, you ain't about to get out there and get on nobody's land or you don't want to buy no land, you don't want to farm, but you need to be more self-sufficient. You need to learn a new craft. You need to know where your food is coming from. Please consider getting that little hydroponic machine for your own apartment, and start slow. Start with lettuce. Start with tomato. Start with kale. And then go on YouTube and look up how to do it, right? And so there's always some really cool options for everybody. Like I said, that stuff fit on the desk. You could, if you don't want to be out there on that ground, that grass like that, you can go sit on your desk with your laptop, play a little, which I'll be looking at them gossip to YouTube, gossip commentary, and do your farming right there. And that's just if you want to sit down. You could sit down. We talking about elders can sit their ass down and do that. Even the elders. That's not just Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, and Millennials. You can get them hydroponics and set it right inside your house. And for a more sophisticated thinking, and for those that got they in apartment complexes, and they got like a committee, and what you may want to consider, this is for people who even own the apartment complexes, is on them hallways. Now, granted, you got to think of people have to move in their furniture in and whatnot, but if there's a way, especially in them recess areas, the recreational areas, you may want to consider putting farms there, gardens there too, that people can tend to. Another thing you could consider is having hydroponic farming of even if it's something as simple as herbs or lettuce or kale or cherry, strawberries, right? And you can put that on the sides. Make sure there's still enough space so people can get their furniture out and in. But right as they walk in through the apartment, imagine you walk into the halls to get to your apartment. Some of these apartments, they got stairs and elevators, but as you walking through the hallway, you seeing a green oasis on each side of the hall, or even maybe one side of the hall, or even at the ends of the hall. If you can't get it on the sides, maybe you can get it at the ends of the hall. And you see oases of gardens with actual edible herbs and fruits, and veggies. So those who got, especially the luxury apartments, y'all could definitely get together as a committee and have a meeting. Those who they have committee meetings for the apartments, and think of those type of things. If for self-sufficiency, when we talk about being creative, you got to think modern. These people say, "Well, I want the modern life. I don't want to be on a farm. I don't want to be in a rural area." You don't have to be. But you could still practice self-sufficiency. You could still, even if you're in the city, these people that got front yards, backyards, even if you're in a house and you're in the city, you could still do something cool on that land. Even if you're a renter, they got container gardens. So that means if you're a renter, you can't, and they say, you ain't going to dig up I don't want you digging up my shit and putting all that stuff in the ground. You can get containers. You can grow apple trees in a 25-gallon container. Everybody know that. You can grow, actually pretty much anything, soursop. I've seen it. Where these people is growing all types of stuff in them big-ass 25-gallon containers with the soil. And they need about two bags that are 40 pounds of potting soil. And, I think you get about 2 40-pound bags, maybe a good fertilizer, good compost. You can put that shit right in a container. The trees, potatoes, apple tree, what other trees you like, avocado, whatever it is. If you're renting and you know that your landlord may not want you to, and then you can ask too. Sometimes they may say, hell yeah, if you know what you're doing. It's what's the worst that can happen? Or the plant gonna die. You got to cut it out the ground or whatever. What's the worst that can happen? So a lot of these landlords may say yes, but if they say no, you can always get a container. What you work in that land, and so when you leave, and say you get a U-Haul truck and you got to leave that apartment, you can always put that tree or whatever you grew right on that truck and take it with you, right? You could take that fruit tree or whatever it is right with you. Because I was thinking about doing that. I said, well, I don't know how long we'll be in this particular place. When I said it'll be in a container, worst thing that could happen is either I take it with me, or even if I leave it here, maybe the landlord decided to put it in the ground. Maybe they decide to give it away. You know, it's a tree. So you have to think creative. Even if you in them cities, you may not want to just like, oh, I gotta go buy me some land and get me some chickens. You don't necessarily have to do that. You gotta just work with what you got. You gotta think creatively. Like them people, them elders that say they can't walk, they can't get out there, but they interested in growing their own stuff. It's getting hot out here. You get them one of them hydroponic machines for their birthday. You know, for those who celebrate holidays or whatever. And you show them the video. Y'all watch it together. Show them the video of how it get done. It's so easy. And they'll be like, yo, I could sit and watch my little, what's that show called? Watch that little Golden Girls, or watch gossip, watch soap opera, and do this. Well, I'm just sitting chilling in my chair. This little hydroponic thing you got me. In 7 days, you'll germinate. 7 days, you start seeing the germinate, the sprouting. And then, within 55 days, you'll start harvesting that lettuce. So this is for anybody that's even for disabled. This option I'm talking about. Elderly, disabled, the youth that got work from home jobs that got to be in the city or got to be close to the city. There's options. You can get you either the hydroponic, but if you got more organizational capacity, you could have a committee meeting and say, hey, how about we just grow these, scale this and put this out, right in the hallway. So when people, we got our own little, we know everybody, we trust everybody. And people could sign up to attend to it. People who are interested in that could tend to it. And they may get first harvest or whatever, but because they worked it, it's only fair. But those who are interested, or even the club, that's dedicated to something of that nature, especially if even on these campuses and in apartments and whatnot. But they got the a lot of these campuses where people's living in the dorms too. Some of these kids are living in the dorms. Think of it, expand it, scale it to that too. I remember they used to have residential committees and clubs on them campuses, and y'all could just have that advocate for that as a student body for right on the school on living campus, the dorms, the dormitories. So get creative with it. It's not a one size fit all, and it's not a dichotomous. Oh, I'm going to live in the city and then I got to go to the grocery store. If you want to go to the grocery store, fine. But you could be sophisticated enough, even if you wanted to get a plot of land and you growing your own stuff, you could take the surplus and sell it to a store. And then they say, well, I want to be able to go to the restaurant still. Yeah, you can. Who is saying you can't go to a restaurant? You could probably sell the surplus to the restaurant if you really know what you're doing. Some of your microgreens or whatever, you could probably sell the surplus to a restaurant. And then go eat at the restaurant. See, a lot of people, they don't like to eat at them restaurants, but the youth is saying, well, they still want to be able to go to the concerts and they still want to be able to have fun. So they don't want to go and get no farmland, and they don't want to live on no boring rural farm. Why are you not thinking outside the box and getting creative with it? Get you some hydroponic to grow your own stuff. So if people may say hydroponic is not natural, it's actually a 5,000-year-old technique. So let's talk about that. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Hydroponics is very old. And I'll tell you how. So you remember that city called Mound Bayou that Black Americans had to build up in the 1800s. And pretty much people were being funny and purposely sold them swampland that had no soil. Be thinking like, haha, they gonna starve themselves out. They gonna be able to grow no food on there because it's swampland. So they want to build the whole city, sure. We'll give them these acres to build this city. But jokes on them. They're not going to be able to grow no food because it's swampland. This was the thinking. Little did they know, is that Black Americans been knowing about hydroponic farming. It's an old technique. I wouldn't be shocked if it's something that's like encoded, bedded in a DNA. To know, how do we know that? You saw that black dude in Compton that lived in the city that turned his whole front yard into a, he built it towered up. He built it vertically, right? He created a new invention style system of hydroponic farming to grow anything you could think of, just using solely hydroponics in the city, in the hood. And that's documented. And he did that all on his own. Okay? So, it's something that's in the DNA. It come from, I'm going to tell you where it come from. But it's something that they would have naturally known how to figure out. Even if there was no YouTube, no internet, no books. Oh, here you just on this land, but this land ain't got no soil, but you see a lot of swamps. What the fuck you gonna do? They would have figured that out on their own anyways. Because how do you know? Guess what? When you look at a swamp, don't you see greenery growing out the motherfucking swamp? Don't you see a tree sometimes growing out the swampland still living? And with berries and bird come and you see the bird eat the berries off of them trees, or them trees in them swamps. You ever saw that? Don't you have seaweed that come out at the ocean? The seaweed that come out of some of these oceans and rivers and stuff, and certain algae and certain certain edibles that come out. So that would be the thinking. Like, they would have automatically figured that out. Like, just looking at nature, you study nature long enough, it would have been like, wait a minute, these birds, this tree is growing outside this motherfucking water, hanging over this swamp, nothing but water around it. And I'm seeing this bird come and sit his motherfucking ass and eat these little seeds or berries, whatever this is, and it's eating it. Common sense would tell me that I can be able to use this water. I don't see no motherfucking soil. I should be able to, I'm seeing lily pads and little greenery, and when I lift it up, it got them little white roots because it ain't growing in no soil. Obviously that wouldn't be the tree. That would be something much smaller. But you could test this out, what I'm saying. That's how you know hydroponics is natural. It's very natural. Don't think it's unnatural. Do not think it's unnatural. And niggas would have been like, you know what? That's the answer. Let's just grow it on top of the water. Study nature long enough. And that's exactly what Mound Bayou did. That town, Mound Bayou, the people that just got out of slavery, so to speak, or indentured servitude, however you want to look at it. And they realized that, they need some land. They got the land. They sold them swamp land. White folks thought they was going to be, you going to starve. You ain't going to have nothing. Because you ain't got no soil. And they came back and they had one of the most prosperous cities in the state. Because they figured out how to do hydroponic farms. They built the schools on top of the swamps, too. Because they knew how to, people know how to, you could build houses and certain shelters on top of, remember the beach house. You guys know about that. So that's what they were doing. They figured that out. Like, there's a ways to build on top of swampland or water itself. There's ways. And see, those are water people, even though, a lot of Black Americans today say they don't like to swim and they don't know how to swim and all that nonsense. When we talk about Nagas beings or snake gods of the river, these are people that naturally know river things. Anything with water, they will figure it out relatively easier than other species that may be of the fire, that may be of the earth, and maybe of, and see if people may say, well, that's not biblical. I can go in the Ethiopian version and pull you out this stuff about fire, water, earth, and air. I can go and get it. I can also go and prove to you that Nagas beings of the river are also in the Bible. And not like demonic, like as y'all said. You can go look at, I think it's Revelations 9 or Revelation 16, and when they say those angels that was bound at the Euphrates River, which means bound means legal jurisdiction and principality, and moral duty and obligation to the river. Okay, those are Nagas beings. Clear as day, right in front of you. Snake gods of the river, like I have been teaching y'all. This concept is also found in Senegal, and this concept is also found in the Niger area. Anyways, it's old. It's not anything new, what I'm saying. And that is the group that told you half stayed where they at to this day, and the other half ventured off. And I think that's the tribe of Levi over there. They real small. They keep to themselves. And they still got a Levitical priesthood, like what I'm saying. Like they still have like evidence of them being a part of the Levitical priesthood, like actual documentation. And then my alarm went off. Sorry about that. And then the other half I told you traveled into the Kemet area, then Greece, then Rome, then Britain, then over in America. So anyways, back to them knowing naturally about the hydroponics and water and hydroponics being very natural to the earth. Hydroponics have been around for over 5,000 years. Kemet used hydroponics, obviously, to keep in line with certain areas if the land got messed up or flooded or anything like that, or if the land sea levels rose, you would have to be well versed in understanding and knowing such things as far as hydroponic farming. And so Mound Bayou used it in America, and they had success with it. And so it's old technique. And see, now today they got like these little machines, but to be honest, the machine, be careful with, using the apps that come with it. The apps are totally unnecessary. We all know that. You don't need an app for that. And the machine is just pumping your water for you, because you would have to figure out a way to pump. And you would have to be sophisticated with your tubing and irrigation and movement of water. So the pump, the machine that you get, that's like $50 to maybe somewhat even a couple $100, $300, $400. When you think about it, that is just doing nothing but pumping the water, making it easier to measure, you press some buttons and you can hook it up to electricity. But make no mistake about it, you don't have to have electricity to do hydroponic farming. It obviously makes things easier. So that's how you have to think of that. And electricity, there's also natural ways to get electricity as well. But we all know about that. But let's say you want to come up with your own instead of using the machine. Well, I don't want to buy that. There's people that have sophisticated tubing and know how to build that stuff on their own inside of their house, inside of their apartments. If you don't want to get the machine, the kits are easier. I'm just saying it's easier. You can go. They got this. I would say I don't believe that these kits need to have no app, because then now they tracking the growth of your food and the water inside of your food and how much water is in the tank. You don't need to have a tracking all of that. You know what I mean? You know what they're doing with that data, and then they could change their product based on how well or how bad it's doing. And if it's good, they don't want nothing really good for the people. So you don't know if they'll make it harder or mess up, So I don't know about the app stuff. Stay away from the app. Try to keep it as manual as possible if you can. Keep it manual, because you want your privacy too. And so I wouldn't hook your machine up to the apps or to the Wi-Fi or anything like that. But the machines, it is pumping the water. It measures it for you. You can have alarms. You can set things. You could, that some of them, they got this. Most of them got the fertilizer powder that you just add the water to, and then you measure how much you're going to put in the water. Or that some of them have a tank where you put the fertilizer in the machine, and it slow release. It releases it at a certain interval, whatever, when it needs it. So it's sophisticated like that. So like I said, if your personality is like, no, I don't want to be out on them damn farms, and I don't want to be out, that ain't my style. I don't want to be and I had to consider that too as far as lifestyle. I may get out there and do a tree or two, but do I really want to do the whole, and for those who got all them kids, you lucky. You remember back in them days, that's why they was having 10, 12, 13 kids. You got to remember, that's why they were doing that. The elders, when you see, you like, come on, We talking about people that had 13 kids. Remember growing up, you had your nanny say, I had 5 kids, I had 10 kids, that's why they were on the farm. They got to get out there early. How many of your family members that's elders, they only made it to 3rd grade, 2nd grade, and then they ass was on them farms, if that. And farming make you very intelligent, believe it or not. That's why a lot of the biblical parables and knowledge come from and wisdom come from the actual concept of farming. You reap what you sow. Parable of the vineyard, parable of the sower. All these references to agricultural knowledge, because the original Hebrews, Jacobean Hebrews, they were agrarian based. So it's like you would have to know livestock, contract law. Like part of the culture is contract laws, not Babylonian, Luciferian contract law, mind you, Hebrew. There's a difference, a huge difference. And what you see now is not Hebrew contract law. So word is bond as well. That's more of a more ancient culture, but there's a low trust society, so the word is bond culture unfortunately did not survive. But those of us, there's people that still know about it and still go by it. Word is bond, but Hebrews, word is not bond for nagas beings, purebreds. It's our word is bond, but people like to fuck us over. Is what I'm saying. You be getting fucked over, so it's like, oh, we got to come up with a fair agreement, and we have to get some sort of documentation, and we have to have some sort of jurisdiction or legatory framework to enforce it. So that's where legalese come from and all that. But believe it or not, that's the Moorish faction. The stuff, there's a Babylonian faction of legalese that I've told you guys about, the Luciferian Babylonian contract law, and that's totally different. That's not the same as the Hebrew, what was supposed to be the Judahite version of contract law. So agrarian culture is very important. Contract law, especially around marriage, because you got to divvy up some of those farms. You have a dowry. What is this patriarch bringing to, if you giving your daughter to them, how many chickens and goats are they getting? What kind of land are you getting? All that stuff had to be written down. So that's why it's important to them. The agreements was written down. You can't just word is bond. Oh, you told me you was going to give me 50 chickens. No, I didn't. I said I was giving you 10. The fuck is you talking about? You said you was giving me 60 goats, 50. No, I didn't. So that's why agreement, paperwork, that type of documentation is important. Same with marriage pacts and what comes in it, like the concept of prenups. All that come from the Moorish faction of the tribe of Judah. Okay, now that's so don't think that I'm putting down farm work or agriculture, because it can make you very intelligent. But with these youth today, they in their habits, Gen Zs, millennials, even myself. I'm a millennial. Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, you tell them, oh, we go get some and do a homestead and live off it. Some people, they gonna jump on that. They gonna be like, hell yeah. But some of them people in them apartments that like that city living, that's used to project living, they've been on Section 8 for their whole life. What the fuck? They ain't gonna know nothing about that. You tell people that's on Section 8. So the best options for them, if they want to do self-sufficiency, or if they're elders and they can't even get around or get out on no farmland or nothing like that, they can get the hydroponic kits. And see, you know how you have lamps and lights in your house? Instead of using lamps and lights in the actual light, especially if you got to pay your electricity bill, switch it to them grow lights. Get grow plant lights. I use my grow plant lights as regular lighting for my room. And so the plants is getting the light that they need. And then that's part of the lighting. It's a little different because they got different settings, right? So you get the blue one, you got the pink one, which is red, blue, and the yellow together, which makes like your room pink. And then you got yellow, which makes it like a soft, which we used to, like more like an incandescent type thing. And then you got the real dark purple look, and that's if you just put the blue and the red one on. And see, the plants like that too, that blue and that purple look. So, and then believe it or not, that red infrared is usually around that 440, right? 440, 460 nns, which means that's actually beneficial to humans too, that red light. Blue light is kind of superficial. I don't think it reaches deep enough, but some of them can. Some of them, I think that one is at 660. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. You could research that stuff yourself. But If you put it on a yellow one, and you could use it as bright as you want, or you could dim it. It's got a timer on it. So if you want to just do 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, if it's shut off on its own. For those that want to use it, sometimes people like to use it as a night light. You can use them hydroponic kits as your night light too. If you need to put it in a room with you, or put it wherever you want to put it. If you go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, maybe you have it in the hall, on the desk, or in the kitchen, so where you can see where you're going. Because a lot of people use night lights too. I use a lot of night lights, so you can use, instead of, this is a different way of thinking, but it's efficient. So now you got your hydroponic kits or your LEDs. Let's be real. People, let's just be honest. People was growing bushels of weed in these damn project buildings and in their hood, in the apartments. Growing up, we heard about it. No, I ain't ever do it, but I heard about it and I seen it. Okay? So stop acting like y'all don't know how to grow shit. Now, do every black person grow weed in the... Hell no. No. But I'm talking about, people in the hood acting like they don't know how to grow shit. Acting like they want to, run around with their head, what we gonna do? Y'all would ask your motherfucking weed man for one. Now, let me stop playing. But let's be real. That hydroponic stuff, that's kids' play. That's child's play. Compared to what some of these, they could turn whole rooms into like these tropical oases. Like I think it's called like a hot box, some sort of farming box. It's like some sort of, now that I think could run up your electricity. So be careful. If you know you got utilities included, you got electricity included, you might get away with this. But they got like these little, I forgot what I actually gonna try to Google it right now if I can. And I hope I don't get cut off. But let me actually try to Google this real quick. Because this is interesting. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I had got knocked off. I don't know where I ended, but I was saying it's called a hot grow box. And so if I'm repeating myself, forgive me, because I didn't know how long I was off the air. But it's called a hot growth box, where you can up the scale what you're growing. So that could be, you can grow whole dwarf trees, dwarf apple trees, dwarf plum trees, dwarf whatever it is, a lemon tree, an orange tree, right in the grow box, right? And so you can build that out yourself. They got it's called Spider Farmer Heater. So you would need some sort of heater. You don't have to probably use that brand, but you could use a heater. You would have to find a way to heat it. You have to have a nice tent, and then some sort of foil to keep that heat in, and then obviously some lighting, good lighting. And what I was saying is, you can up it from just that hydroponic farm, because that hydroponic kit, it may be too small where you're not going to be able to get, no big old fruit tree, and you're going to only be able to get strawberries, maybe some berries. What else? Lettuce, kale, tomatoes, microgreens and shit like that. But if you wanted to really get popping, I was making a joke about how the weed man had them big old grow tents with the bushels, and right in the house, right in these apartment complexes. What I'm saying is, if you can actually do that with lemon trees and dwarf trees. And then I was also saying how you could use them LED lights as your regular light, which I think I might have recorded that before I got cut off. But and so it's just a matter of thinking outside the box and not giving up, because I hear people saying that they had made cuts, to the food stamps, and they said some people was getting $400, and now they got cut down to from $400, they down to $130, and so that's quite a bit to be cut, What else for? So people have been saying. Then they also are saying you can only get certain things now, and And so what I would say is that's the opportunity to be more self-sufficient. Then they saying you got to work 80 hours in order to get food stamps. If you're going to work 80 hours for food stamp, you might as well just work for yourself or work something that you like and grow your own stuff. I wouldn't even bother with all the paperwork just to get something from them. Just for have them all in your business, all in your household. When you could just start growing your own hydroponics to supplement, because a lot of people are eating healthier anyways. And like I said, y'all could think outside the box and probably invent something with this hydroponic stuff where y'all are growing whole squashes and watermelons in these houses, pumpkin in these houses. I wouldn't be shocked if somebody figure it out. I would not be shocked. I would not. If somebody come and start showing, if they probably already doing it now. But they done found some sophisticated ass way to use hydroponics in their house to grow big ass watermelons. I would not be shocked if that's already in existence. And if not, start thinking of ways to invent that, because I know you can. When you study the little kits and you start understanding the science of how it's growing, that's only going to get your creative juices flowing. Like, wait a minute, I think I can recreate this at a bigger level. And I think I might be able to grow me a motherfucker. I think I can get me some pumpkin and some squash up in here. I think I might be able to get me some some grapes. I want a grapevine. I think I'll be able to find out a way to get me some grapes up in this. I'm in the city. I don't want to be I don't want to farm, go out there in that hot sun. I'm going to figure out how to. I'm just saying. And so those are ways of getting things done. There's more than one way to skin a cat, is the point that you should take from that. And there's sophisticated ways out here where, so they saying they want to still be, they want to be close to this. They don't want to just be on a farm all day. I get that. But like I said, there's creative ways to get stuff done. So as long as we are aware of that and we do what we got to do. Let me put this out. And we do what we got to do. We'll be fine. I just thought it was so fascinating seeing that hydroponic stuff this week, because I was thinking like, I like the container concepts. I said, well, I was shocked that you can grow like these huge trees in these containers. And I said, well, I just got to get 2 bags of soil, quite a bit of soil and fertilizer and all these things. And then you got to get the tree itself. And I want to wait till the trees go on sale again, because sometimes they got buy one, get one free around Black Friday, with these trees and stuff. Buy one, get one free. So I'm hoping that sale happens again this year. And if not, it's okay. But, I was really fascinated because, I'm not an outdoorsy person myself. I would do it if I had no choice, but I'm not the most I think it's more of a pattern behavior. It's not that I'm indifferent to the idea. If it was a reason to be outdoors, I guess. But if it's not, then I'm not, so it's not that it's not like a set in stone thing, but I said that hydroponic thing might be better for me personally, based on lifestyle but I think when I think of the elders that can't get out there and they like to sit at their table and talk shit or whatever, and I said they could play with that hydroponic thing, go right on that table, and they could sit down and actually be farming, actually be growing lettuce and kale and spinach and tomatoes and strawberries. Now you can also, if you want a bigger one, vertical and a big, you can stand up. But if you wanted to just to start small, just to have them getting some supplement, they lettuce is expensive. This stuff is expensive, so it might be a smarter option. And like I said, use them, Ellie, if you want to. If you got bigger ideas and bigger goals, as far as hot boxes and heat tents for indoor heat tents for bigger items, or if you just want to do something with the LED lights, use those grow lights, those plant lights for your regular lighting, and that way you still don't have to spend up your electricity. It don't cost that much to run it, even if you just run it at 8 hours a day. I run mine's about 8 hours a day, and so it don't cost that much. And I use that as my regular light too, but it's also growing my plants, and it does grow them. It does grow them. So it works. Or you can put it by the east window too. They give it a little extra, like if it need 12 hours and you throughout the day you don't have your lights on, you just put your plants by the east window or east or south, and that can supplement the light as well. Yep, but just look that up. If you're the youth and you're not the youth, but you're younger, you're in them apartment complexes, for sure. Start getting on it. And like I said, get creative, because they might take the machines and force the machines to be online and be on Wi-Fi and all that. So, you want to, that thing is easy though. It ain't nothing but pumping. It probably ain't doing nothing but pumping the water for you, telling you when it needs water. If water is low, the alarm goes off. It's just simple shit like that. It ain't nothing you can't build on your own if need be. But understanding the science of it is a cool thing. And about $50, $100. I seen the one for $300. I seen one for $200. Obviously, the bigger you get, it's gonna cost you more. But you can get what's in your budget. And if all you got is $89, or you wait around Black Friday, see if it go 50% off. Maybe you wait to make that purchase and wait a little longer. If you want maybe a bigger one or something. But I think that's a what's it called, middle way, a balanced way to look at these things, instead of just saying, "Oh, everybody in the city go and get you some land." Some people gonna take heed to that. Some people don't. Some people see what's coming, see how they can manipulate water pressure and shut off water, shut off electricity, shut off. Some people understand that is a higher possibility with city living. Versus if you in the rural areas and you got solar, you got your own electricity source and heat source and water source and all that. So that's just how some people is more so like, well, I just want to be out of that system, But for those that's like, well, it's not feasible right now. They're working. Their job is right there. They don't have no money to get no land. They don't know nobody. They don't have no family member that they don't. Then you have to think outside the box. But they still interested. Well, I would like to grow my own. I like to know something about it. Just get you a hydroponic kit. And then for those who think it's unnatural, it is not unnatural. Just go and look at some swampland. Go at what niggas eating. We were eating Irish sea moss. How many of you is eating Irish sea moss? It's a plant that's growing right out of the water that you eat. So that should let you know. That should tell you right then and there. Oh, hydroponics is very natural. Okay. So that's my time. I think I done belabored my point. I had got triggered. I was listening to an elder talk about how the youth don't want to be on farms and they don't want to move out. She was saying they still want to go to the concerts. They still want to have city living. Turn your apartment complexes into them hydroponic farming too. Like I said, get creative with it. Them dormitories and all of that. And then that way, if anything were to happen, y'all had that skill set. So if nothing else, it's a nice skill to have. And we need people that understand the different types of ways of doing things. Soil and water. Soil farming, water, all different types. Maybe you come up with something even more new. Maybe you come up with something even more sophisticated. Like I said, I want to see these youths developing, I want to see Gen Alpha in them apartments showing us how they growing big ass watermelons using some cool technique they invented. I want to see them showing me. I know I'm gonna see it soon. I done found out a way to grow water. I done found a way to grow a big ass pumpkin. Right in there with very little tools and very little. So, if you a homebody and like to be in the house, that ain't nothing wrong with that. Just get creative with it. Still do what you got to do to figure out this self-sufficiency thing and progress, as ever small that progress is, but progress at the rate that you know is feasible for you. And, to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So let me get up on off of here. Let me make sure that I thought I was supposed to be trying to pack up some stuff, but I didn't really get to it. But as long as I did my little walk. I'm not throwing this away. I think I was wanting to throw this away. I'm not keeping this. I'm gonna throw this away. Okay, y'all be easy. Have a good weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.